As we've been reporting, Attorney General William Barr says he thinks the FBI spied on President Trump's 2016 campaign. The Attorney General made those comments during a hearing before the Senate Appropriations Committee Wednesday. In that hearing, Barr also said he has a team investigating the origins of the Russia investigation. Joining me now from Capitol Hill is Republican Senator Mike Braun of Indiana on his 100th day in office. Senator, I know it's a busy day. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Hey, no problem. Good to be on.
So I want to first ask you about the concerns over possible misconduct in the Russia investigation. Here's what Attorney General Barr said today, followed by what the president said.
Do you have any specific evidence that there was anything improper in the counterintelligence investigation by the FBI or anything improper in the way the investigation was carried out by the special counsel with respect to the 2016 election? Do you have any evidence?
I'm sorry, there was a compound question.
Compound question. There was a counterintelligence investigation by the FBI with respect to the 2016 election involving primarily the Trump campaign. There was the investigation by Director Mueller into the 2016 campaign and other issues. Have you any evidence that there was anything improper in those investigations?
I have no specific evidence that I would cite right now. I do have questions about it.
It was an illegal investigation. It was started illegally. Everything about it was crooked. Every single thing about it. There were dirty cops.
So, Senator, the Attorney General said he has seen, quote, no specific evidence. The president claims there was illegal action. Whom do you believe?
Well, I heard about that on the way over to the interview, and I think it's all part and parcel of I wish this would get behind us. If there was stuff that had irregularities to it, I think Lindsey Graham and others might be looking into it, but I think we need to get to the bottom of that as well. I heard President Trump's reaction there, and I think, understandable. If we do find out that there were any shenanigans on the part of the FBI as part of conducting it, we need to know that. But I think for most Americans, we want to get the whole thing behind us so we can start focusing on real issues out there. It took so long to get the Mueller report out. I was there at the Senate luncheon a couple weeks ago when the president came over, and he was exuberant that the report was out and on first glance looked good. I think it's going to be continually litigated, though, in one fashion or another by folks that are going to keep looking and looking, trying to talk about it. And most Americans, myself included as a senator, I want to get to the problems I'm hearing about back home. It's not that.
Well, when Barr's summary was released, though, you said it was, quote, kind of what the president has said all along. It's good news for him for getting across this hurdle. You made that remark without seeing the details of the report. What do you say to those who think that your assessment might be premature?
Now, I think in terms of getting the full report out, and I was happy the president was for that from the get-go, we need to see it. There are going to be questions about it until it's in full public view. To me, transparency and full visibility is the cure to put all this stuff to bed. So now I'm not making any judgment on the particulars. I want to see the extreme amount of information from that report only redacted to the point of what Attorney General Barr needs to do by law. I think the American public deserves to see it, and I'm hoping it's clean, and I'm assuming it will be. And if there were any issues about the FBI being overboard or not conducting an investigation that was done properly, I hope that's vetted quickly, too, and we find out about it.
All right, let's turn to policy. The president said he wants to go in a tougher direction when it comes to illegal immigration. That includes wanting to make it tougher for asylum seekers to get approved. Do you support the president's approach?
Well, I think that clearly we've got a lot of people coming to the border where asylum may not be the reason they're coming there, and I think we're finding that out after we get the time to process the multitudes of folks coming. All I know, for the sake of, again, getting these problems processed, so many things have happened due to not having a secure border. And I think we've underfunded the task of making it secure. I hope the Democrats do back smart technology, at least, to supplement barrier security. And then we need to turn to legitimate issues of trying to increase legal immigration. I was with folks from the ag industry. For many businesses throughout Indiana, we've got a super low unemployment rate. We need qualified help, not only through legal immigration, but in many other ways. And I think the border being not secured has led to a lot of uncertainty. And I back the president's effort to actually give us a secure border and then tackle the problems.
So with that in mind, some Democratic lawmakers have expressed concern about the role White House advisor Stephen Miller is playing in shaping the administration's immigration policy. Do you feel that you and your colleagues have enough input on immigration policy?
You know, I think we do. I don't know how you couldn't be totally engaged on this issue. I know when I ran, it was right up there with jobs in the economy and, people worried about Medicare and Social Security being around. So it's a big deal. And I think as a senator, I've got plenty of information. My observation is that there's not real seriousness on the other side of the aisle about doing what they were interested in doing not too long ago and funding it at a much higher level. So I think that's where the frustration comes from the administration, senators like me that want to see border security, but then get to the underlying problems that have been created by not having it. So I'd say being here as a senator, there's so much of that where we've not addressed issues of the cost of health care. You know, border security looks like it's in worse shape now than what it was when we started talking about it years ago. So that's disappointing to somebody like me.
Well, I also want to ask you about health care, because the president vowed that the Republican Party will be the party of health care. He then said there won't be any vote on health care until after the 2020 election. What are you and your colleagues doing to make good on the president's promise? Is there a plan in the works?
Well, that happened at that same luncheon a couple of weeks ago after the Mueller report was released. His statement was, we're going to lead on health care. I've been one of the new senators here that, is where I put in most of my effort on holding the industry accountable, doing things like making prescription drug prices lower due to competition and transparency. We're going to still do that. I've got 3 or 4 bills out that tackle that particular problem. And we as Republicans have got to have a plan ready, even if and it's not ready to go now. That's why I was glad Leader McConnell said, let's get our ducks in a row before we're out there. We've been talking about repealing. I actually think that ship has sailed. In my own company, I covered pre-existing conditions, no cap on coverage, stay on the plan with your kids till they're 26. Most Americans want that. That was part of Obamacare. Obamacare has failed because it was big health care in cahoots with big government. That's never generated more effective and lower cost results. So we've got to, as Republicans, put the plan together and then peck away at it in the meantime, holding pharmaceutical companies accountable, PBMs, and work at parts of it, arriving at a grand plan that I can guarantee you will be better than Medicare for all.
Well, is there any part of Senator Sanders' proposal, his Medicare for all plan unveiled today, that you could support?
Well, I'm sure that he's in there wanting to cover pre-existing conditions, no cap on coverage, and kids being able to stay on the plan. That was part of Obamacare. What he's not telling the American public is that is estimated to cost over 10 years $32 trillion, $3.2 trillion per year. That's the total size of our government when you look at the resources we're generating currently. Of course, we spend almost $1 trillion more than that. That would be like jumping from the frying pan into the fire. Most Americans aren't ready to give up their private insurance and turn to the government to run anything as big as health care is in our economy. On the other hand, if the industry doesn't get with it, we will have the federal government as the business partner with health care. And I blame it as much on the industry as I do anything else. And I'm going to try to prevent that by crafting solutions to save the best of what we got with health care the way it is now, keep the 3 pillars of Obamacare, but do it in a way that lowers costs, doesn't create a government that's doubling the size of what we got now that isn't that good at doing the things that it does.
Finally, Senator, Wednesday marks your 100th day in Congress. What's one thing you've learned about Washington in your first 100 days?
Well, I'm a Main Street entrepreneur. Before I got here, I came from an effective state government in Indiana that balanced budgets and had a cash balance to boot. We tackled infrastructure, which is the other thing you didn't mention, but our roads and bridges are in dire need of being fixed across the country. This place is not going to get a whole lot done when you're running $850 billion deficits. When you're looking at things like Medicare, Social Security, that are going to take a lot of money to fix, or either changing the system to make it different to where it's sustainable. Healthcare is going to take a lot of attention. I'm frustrated that we've been distracted with a lot of other stuff, and I'm worried that the way we run the place, laughing off nearly $1 trillion deficits, being so deeply in debt, I wouldn't look to the federal government to do well in anything here. I'd look to state governments, the private sector, until we get this place in shape in general. I'm glad I'm here. That's what I think know how to do, and I think we got a few more senators here now that can address the way this government works in general.
All right, Senator Mike Braun. Senator, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.